don't trust nobody. In Hollywood specifically, when you get there, a lot of people don't know how to say no. That's the difference between New York City and California.
This is what I look for. When I see a success, I'm looking for anything
to say that they didn't do it on their own?
Yeah, detain it.
The Cold War between Jay-Z and 50 Cent has been brewing for years, but right now, it's like we're standing on the edge of an earthquake. Word from multiple insiders is that the long-rumored documentary 50 Cent's been crafting isn't just real, it's nearly done. This isn't some quick clip. It's a streaming-ready bombshell piecing together decades of accusations, grudges, and off-the-record whispers. Here's where it gets wild. Jay-Z is reportedly gearing up to hit the courts, not after it drops, but before it even sees the light of day. No rebuttal, no press statement, just a full-on legal wall to keep it buried. That alone changes the whole game. This isn't about a petty dispute anymore. This is a battle for the narrative, the legacy, the very history of hip-hop. So the real question is, what truth is he so desperate to keep locked away?
I think a lot of people thought that he was just joking around. It turns out he's not. So this is actually a real project that's being made under his G Unit.
Word on the street is that 50 Cent's project started as a deep dive into Diddy's legal collapse. But somewhere along the way, the spotlight swerved hard toward Jay-Z. Part of it was the Rymir paternity drama. Part of it was their messy shared history. And part of it came from what 50 allegedly dug up in the process. Now, whispers in the industry say this documentary won't just focus on Rymir. According to one veteran insider, several more people claiming blood ties to Jay-Z have stepped forward, eager to speak on camera. And they're not hiding behind shadows or blurred out faces. They're ready to drop their stories straight, no filter. If those segments make the final cut, it could split Jay-Z's polished family man image wide open. Secret lives, surprising connections, a possible pattern, the kind of explosive content streaming platforms dream about, stuff you literally can't look away from. And then, there's that mysterious apartment building visit.
He took them to some apartment building and, they did what they did in there, talked a little bit, had a good time, party. And I guess I can't fully talk as my mom because I'm not my mom. I'm just telling you guys what she told me. It was this, and I honestly just believe it. It's just no doubt.
And then there's the Whisper Network
And then there's the shadowy Whisper Network, the one that talks about quiet settlements, calculated moves, and a playbook built to protect at all costs. People close to the situation claim Jay-Z's team has, for years, moved with precision, shutting down claims before they ever had a chance to breathe. We're talking payouts, airtight NDAs, sealed court records, a deliberate, almost surgical strategy to keep damaging stories buried. These rumors have circled for years without hard proof, but now the game has changed because 50 Cent has the money, the legal muscle, and the platform to line them up, back to back, in front of millions. Court filings, witness testimony, receipts, cut together in a way no crisis PR team could spin. The timing couldn't be worse. Jay-Z is already under renewed legal fire over Rymir's fight for a paternity test, a case blocked, rerouted, and stalled in courtrooms since the early 2000s. The filings tell their own story, claims of his lawyers misstating property ownership to dodge jurisdiction, legal motions bouncing from state to state until the statute of limitations became a shield. His public response, silence or dismissal. Now, add his name appearing alongside Diddy's in a lawsuit over a disturbing after-party incident from 2000, and the picture sharpens. In that light, even the possibility of another scandal, splashed across a mass-market streaming release, becomes a five-alarm crisis.
So that's just competitive.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him.
Okay, damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant. All right.
The history between Jay-Z and 50 Cent has always carried its own electric current. For decades, they've circled each other, sharing stages, trading bars, and at times locking horns. But friendship, that was never part of the equation. 50 has openly said it's strictly business, nothing personal. Lately, though, the tone has shifted. His shots have been bolder, more calculated, aimed squarely at Jay-Z's mounting legal troubles. Deleted posts mocking his red carpet appearances. Snide jokes about how the allegations could wreck a future Super Bowl halftime show. This isn't casual trolling anymore. It's the slow, relentless drumbeat before impact. And by all accounts, that impact is about to land, in the form of a documentary designed to hit where it hurts most.
But after that major documentary comes out on Diddy, then you're going to start to hear more and more about Jay-Z and his nefarious.
One of the most explosive whispers surrounding this project is that 50 Cent hasn't just gathered material on Rymir or the alleged additional children. He's also zeroed in on the inner workings of the machine that shielded Jay-Z and Diddy for years. Former associates describe closed-door meetings where settlements were brokered, calls made to media bosses to kill a story, and quiet pressure placed on anyone daring to go public. We have no confirmation from the label or Jay-Z's camp, but the idea alone that such stories could be woven into a Netflix-ready exposé has entertainment lawyers bracing for sleepless nights. Insiders say the more Jay-Z pushes to block the release, the more the streaming giant leans in. In today's culture, nothing pulls an audience like the thing you weren't supposed to see. The Streisand effect hangs heavy here. Any attempt to bury this could turn it into the very event everyone's talking about. And if those alleged family members step forward with timelines, photos, or receipts, the narrative shifts from rumor to something far harder to ignore.
Jay-Z got his whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got it. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your whooped.
We can't overlook how it's impossible to ignore how all this crashes head-on into Jay-Z's long-standing alliance with Diddy. For years, they've painted their bond as brotherhood, a strategic partnership built on loyalty and mutual protection. They've shared stages, popped bottles at the same VIP tables, and celebrated their billionaire status together. Now, both names sit in the crosshairs of serious legal complaints, with Diddy facing a wave of criminal charges. Jay-Z's public silence on his brother's troubles hasn't gone unnoticed. 50 Cent has already turned it into meme fodder and on-air jabs, framing him as conveniently absent. A documentary that threads their fortunes into a single storyline could transform that silence into something far more suspicious. And when it comes to the alleged additional children, the stakes spike even higher. If their accounts line up, where they were born, who their mothers are, how contact was made or dodged, it sets the stage for a narrative about a decades-long pattern of concealment. Even without a court ruling, the emotional weight of multiple voices telling similar stories could flip public perception overnight. And in an industry where image is currency, that's a direct strike at brand value, partnerships, and the myth of the untouchable mogul.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
Insiders say some of these voices have been circling the media for years, ready to speak, but without the leverage or legal shield to do it safely. Now, according to those same sources, 50 Cent's team is offering both, along with a platform capable of projecting their stories to millions. This isn't just about making accusations, it's about owning the narrative, about framing the story so it sticks. And if the documentary pairs these testimonies with the right archival footage, set side by side with Jay-Z's own lyrics and public statements, the sheer contrast could hit like a sledgehammer.
Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Never.
With lawyers reportedly scrambling to draft motions to block the release, the clock is ticking. Every passing day raises the chance of leaks, counterpunch narratives, or calculated teasers from 50 Cent's camp, just enough to keep the story alive. The harder the push to silence it, the louder it becomes. Once that loop starts, it's almost impossible to break. And what if the attempt to bury it ends up transforming it into the biggest pop culture spectacle of the year? That's where things get combustible because of the company Jay-Z has kept. For decades, no one has been closer than Diddy. Their alliance, once hailed as a symbol of dominance and unity, now risks looking like a weight pulling them both under. It's impossible to ignore how Diddy's legal empire has collapsed. Charges piled so high, they read like a crime anthology. Whispers suggest 50 Cent's film will draw a clean, unbroken line between that downfall and the circles Jay-Z has moved in. It won't need to spell it out. Just placing the two men side by side in historic moments now shaded with suspicion could speak louder than any accusation.
Why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time. Like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup.
For decades, Jay-Z has been more than a rapper. He's been the embodiment of power, precision, and control in the music industry. A self-made mogul whose rise is etched into the DNA of hip-hop culture. But legacies like that don't just happen, they're engineered. Built brick by brick, each move calculated, every public moment weighed against one question. Does this fortify the image or does it fracture it? When someone has spent years transforming themselves into a brand, even the smallest detail, a candid photo, an offhand lyric, gets filtered through that lens. In that world, silencing uncomfortable stories isn't just legal maneuvering, it's an act of psychological self-defense. The pressure is unrelenting. In the court of public opinion, a single misstep can erase years of careful construction. And for someone perched at the very top of hip-hop's power structure, the fear of a permanent stain isn't just anxiety, it's existential. This isn't about embarrassment, it's about the potential unraveling of an empire whose value hinges on the illusion of invincibility. The brand is worth billions, but it's propped up by trust. Trust from fans, from corporate giants, from the cultural gatekeepers who decide who ascends to the pantheon and who gets left behind.
There's no artist, be clear, there's no artist in this industry that's doing major numbers with these platforms that haven't sold their soul.
That's why the psychology of secrecy can burrow so deep. When someone spends a lifetime outrunning the ghosts of their past, shutting doors becomes instinct. Every rumor feels like a ticking fuse, every unflattering detail a potential turning point. Even when the truth is harmless, the fact that it exists outside the carefully scripted narrative makes it dangerous. Over time, those instincts can calcify into something stronger, a refusal to let anyone peek behind the curtain, no matter the cost. And then there's the human side, stripped of all the gloss. The relentless pressure to keep an immaculate public image grinds a person down, creating a constant state of vigilance that blurs the line between caution and paranoia. In that mindset, blocking a documentary, silencing allegations, outmaneuvering court demands, these aren't just strategies, they're survival moves. It's the belief that if the walls stay high enough, no one will ever get close enough to tell a story you didn't write yourself.
He, of course, is more than annoyed, would be an understatement.
Yeah.
He has a family and he has a lot to protect, including his brand. But to the extent that he's saying, hey, come after me criminally, that could be likely. Why do I say that? Because in New York, and what's alleged in this complaint is forcible compulsion. What that means in English is that it's saying that he held her down.
Viewed through that lens, the fight over this documentary isn't just about allegations or isolated events. It's the climax of a lifetime spent defending an identity that's become both a crown and a cage. Now, with pressure closing in from every direction, legal, personal, public, we have to ask, is this fierce protection a sign of buried truths, or simply the reflex of a man who knows that even a shadow of imperfection can threaten the empire he's built? And then there's Beyoncé. She's crafted her own empire, an image of precision, artistry, and near unshakable control. But behind the scenes, the strain on the Carter household must be intense. One industry insider says she's been working with a crisis management team, calculating every move, every appearance, every word. Another claims she's torn, loyal to her husband, but sharply aware of the risks to her own legacy if this spiral keeps spinning. Is she quietly urging Jay-Z to settle the paternity matter, to close one dangerous door before another swings wide? Or is she positioning herself to pull back from the chaos entirely, ready to protect her brand, even if it means creating distance inside the marriage?
Wives, and we may actually see one of the biggest divorces in Hollywood is because Jay-Z is up next to be exposed.
There are whispers of cracks in the empire, subtle changes in their public rhythm, fewer joint interviews, a deliberate focus on separate ventures. Their last major appearance together, the red carpet for their daughter's film premiere, was meant to radiate unity, yet it only fueled online speculation. Social media dissected every frame, the spacing between them, the pacing of their steps, the moments they stood apart. For a couple that has mastered the art of image control, those tiny deviations speak volumes. And if 50 Cent's documentary so much as threads Beyoncé into the storyline, even on the edges, it could shift the narrative entirely. Suddenly, it's no longer just about court filings and alleged hidden family members. It's about whether one of entertainment's most celebrated power couples is starting to fracture under the strain of shared scandal. That's the kind of subplot that doesn't fade. It lingers for months, feeding the public's appetite for a story that mixes high-stakes legal drama with something far more universal: love, trust, and betrayal in plain view.
What I've heard about them as a couple is that they've been living separate lives for a very long time.
And then we circle back to the detail that refuses to fade, the DNA test. Reimer's push to secure it has stretched over a decade, bogged down in procedural roadblocks, sidestepped with jurisdictional disputes, stalled in courtroom after courtroom. But now legal momentum is stirring again, and with the press circling and this documentary looming, refusal may soon be harder to defend. We've seen it before: one court order, one judge willing to revisit the case, and suddenly the test
No, this part is not alleged. Jay-Z and his team, they have been ducking and dodging, taking the deal.
Becomes inevitable. For Jay-Z, the stakes could not be higher. One outcome slams the door for good. The other rips it clean off the hinges. If he takes it and walks away cleared, the victory would be loud, definitive, a rare opportunity to flip the narrative in his favor. But if the result goes the other way, the damage would be immediate. Every denial, every procedural maneuver, every legal motion from the past decade could be recast as part of an elaborate cover-up. And that wouldn't just bruise his personal life, it would hammer the business, the brand deals, the cultural authority he's spent decades building. One test could answer everything. But the real question is, will Jay-Z risk taking it?
I don't have no felonies. I'm not crazy or none of that. It's like, I just want the truth, and it's so hard to get it from the courts. And it seems like Jay-Z don't want to say anything. So, I don't want to see him go down for something that, you could have just got taken care of. That's it.
Which brings us to the question hanging over it all. If the truth comes out, will it spell the downfall of an icon or trigger a reckoning that shakes the entire industry? Could this be the moment that forces not just Jay-Z, but hip-hop's most powerful figures to face the past they've worked so hard to keep hidden? We want to hear from you. Do you think Jay-Z is shielding himself from falsehoods or hiding from the truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and trust us, we'll be reading every word. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, in this world, nothing stays buried forever.